Good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Thursday, November 30th, 2023. And what a day. I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start here with the S&P. I'm going to stay on this hourly chart. And now let's just review the three possibilities that I left us all with on last night's update. The middle one, which actually would have suggested that this was wave 1 of 5, and this being wave 2, is gone. Reason? It broke below that low. Only slightly, but enough. And wave 2 cannot overlap wave 1. So that's gone. What does that leave us? Oh, sorry, I forgot to take that one off. So let me just kind of change that to actually what it was. And my apologies, I left that on there and now just realized that I did. It's the B wave. And I'm just kind of fill this in so that we fill in the gap here. What I'm going to review right now is the possibility, okay, if we're going to say that it was an irregular B wave and that we now have completed this wave 4, and I want to review very quickly as I put these together. Yesterday, I had discussed how that upside, if we were looking at an irregular, we checked out the fibs. If you remember, we checked out the fibs, and the most common fib for that type of measurement is 1.236. So in other words, wave B would be 1.236 or 1.382 of wave A. And we looked at that this high of 45.97 was 3 points higher than the 1.382, which came out at 45.94. So for all intents and purposes, bang, hit it on the nose. Then we left open the possibility, if indeed it was going to be a wave 4 down, so the C wave down, the most common retracement then back down is 1.618 of that same A wave. Look where it came. 45.43, basically, we'll call it. That's the 1.618. And the low was 45.44.75. So again, we're like, wow, hit it on the nose, and then started to rally again. Now, you may kind of go like, well, wait a minute, this really doesn't kind of count itself out. But if we break it down, very similar to that upside wave, if we break it down, let's go to the 15-minute chart and open it up and take a peek. We do have the 5, then we have a 3, and then we have another 5. Just doesn't always look like it when we're looking at the hourly chart. So you always have to kind of come in so that you can see inside. They're not pretty. I do not doubt for 1 second that this is a glorious and clean move. It was choppy. It was all over the board. It was in every which way you can come up with. But at the end of the day, it does not break any of the rules. And it fits within the fibs. So this continues to stay on board. And what we would now look for, okay? So again, I'm going to remove this because now I need to look at, if we're going to be in that minute 5th wave, what am I looking at? So now I have to open this up a little bit so that I can get inside. And the first thing we want to do is we're inside this particular portion, which is going to be a C wave. So remember, it could be what we're looking at here. Is it going to end up being an intermediate wave A up here at wherever this tops out in part of this double ABC that's going to be created to complete the primary B wave? Now that's what we're looking at on this big picture. Now we're going down into the internals. But as I left it yesterday, yet to be determined, is this going to be minor wave A, minor wave B, minor wave C, intermediate A, Or is it going to be intermediate wave A, intermediate wave B, intermediate wave C, complete? That's yet to be determined. And it's my gut and my own personal feeling is that these are intermediate. But I'm not going to put that out there. I must tell and let the market tell me. I can give you what I perceive to be. These are our possibilities right now. And this is the one I'm kind of favoring. That's what I presented yesterday. And that's why I presented that irregular B wave as number one, and this particular one as number two. Now, this one that as what's left as number two would be, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let me finish as if the wave four is complete, and now we're going to move into a wave five. And I said, sorry, I got ahead of myself. And so the first thing I want to do is I now have a wave four low that I can tack on where I think all this is going to come out. Now, glory be that we really are still confronting pretty much the exact same levels that have been there all along. So what is our first one? 0.618. Now, that's not the most common. The most common is going to be this 100%. 46.26. So we're still dealing with that zone of 46.30 is what I was calling it before, to 46.40. But now we're going to say 46.25 to 46.37 or 46.40. We just broaden it a little bit. But there it is, still sitting there. The 100% is for wave C. This wave C, in its totality, it would be equal to wave A at 46.37. Now, if wave five, we get a super boost, which, by the way, I don't know if you all saw the close today, but boy, they came back in, particularly in the Dow, and we're just like, buy everything. And if you really kind of look at it, you start to think, it's like, okay, so a lot of the money managers and asset managers, they really went whole hog in November, right? They've already gotten it, or they were loading up for year end. So I'm like, well, how much buying could be left for year end? So it really then made me go and look at, well, tomorrow is expiration. And for all I know, that's what they were kind of going into. It's like, well, let's get ready for expiration tomorrow. Because, boy, they came in. And what did they come back into? A lot of it was into the banks, into the bigger banks. Not your regionals, big ones, megas. Got to have. It's like, okay, let's go for it. So what we got going on here, if we're in this minute wave five up, then our first level is 46.26. That is where minute five equals minute wave one. Second most is actually 1.618 at 46.76. So again, we're now reaching up close. We're now reaching up close to 46.84, which is the high of that previous C wave. And you're like, okay. For those that kind of think that the second ABC should top the first ABC, all right, we got a really fair shot. If this all plays out, we got a really fair shot of getting there or getting very close to it. I think I have one more above this. 47.60, 47.57. And up here, if the C wave doesn't stop at 100%, which is 46.37, its next level would be 48.11. So these are technically still a reality. For those that may have thought, well, this ain't going to happen. This is not going to happen. We're just going to tip over. Well, guess what? Let's go back down. Let's go back down to that hourly chart. Look at the close. Look at that close, right? That's almost 30 points. Almost 30 points. S&P points. That was pretty good. That was like, get out of the way. Now, This is one scenario. I remember I already knocked one out, so I got two that we got playing here. One's to the upside, the other is to the downside. Now, you may think doesn't have a fair shot at really kind of doing this, primarily because as much as I can count this, it still really is 3 down. I gotta have to turn that into, I'm accepting it, but we're coming in to what we got as got to be 5s. So we're looking at, I'm just going to count this back out. It's a 1, 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2. Very strange. Can't be a 3, but it is 5 waves. And so it really does count best as 5. As 3, an A, B, and a C. So it kind of throws it a little bit off, but I'm going to use it. And because they all kind of came in, and whether this, I could cut this down even more to get into the internals, and whether there was a 1, 2, and this is a 3, and that's a 4, and this is a 5. Because when we look at it out on the hourly chart, it'll look like, oh, that's 3. But 3 down is now being like, if this could get walloped. And then that leaves that as a 4. And whether I'm going to use it as an irregular, it's because this, yep, I can say this is a 5. I can. In which case it's an A, B, and then it's a C. But it gets cloudy. Now, I'm leaving it open, but the other, if we're going to consider that this is all done, and this is 3, that's the 4, and this is going to be a 5, then you really have to start to think of like, well, what the heck was this? Is this going to turn into 5 and be a wave 1? Was this wave 1 and this is wave 2? Then what was this? Was this 1 and this comes up and can't? It overlapped. Even if I just move it down and go to a line chart, still overlaps. So we're running into problems in terms of the wave structure, which is why I had to take it day by day. So one other, the fibs all fit beautifully for an irregular. But one other possible, let me go back out, that I will show you, because this is something we all need to consider before I get a litany of people telling me how, no, that's 3, blah, blah, blah. There is a possibility that this 3 can be pushed over to here, and this turns into a clean 4. Now, let's just take a look at that and see how that would work. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I know I'm taking the time because I want to walk through this, because this is the process. This is the process that we all basically need to go through as we're doing our analysis so that we can get as accurate as we can with what essentially really is happening. Now I'm going to go back over, right? If this is the 3, oops, that didn't work. Let me see what that high was. That high was 45.97. Not sure how I got off so badly. Okay. All right. So that puts it all the way back up there. 236.382. It barely just went past 236, but that what this 4 was doing, not really coming in, but it is ABC. So I still can count that as a 4. I really can. and just move. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. Even though I went through the whole irregular thing, and that is a good exercise to bear in mind because it fits. But now I'm reconsidering this. And so I'm going to move my 3, over. I'm really glad I get it. You guys can watch me go through my process because it's important. And we're going to go get rid of that right now. Now we're just going to show again the 4 and what we're looking at coming up. So if by chance this is all over, then I don't know what this is. If this closed here, then I could say 1, 2, 1, 2. And then look for it to just kind of drop off. But you can tell, even when I go to a closing basis, this drops down and this definitely still overlaps. And so again, I'm going to do it for you. You can see it's an A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, little tiny 4. And maybe we open it higher and then go from there. So we get 5, then we do a 3, and then we do keep going. So we basically we kept the 4. We just made a little adjustment to how we are going to count it. So that cleans up everything. And in terms of the internal, the smaller 4 would have been here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We saw it. I've gone over it several times to put the 3 up there. And so it was like the internal 3. So minuet 3, minuet 4, minuet 5, minute 3, ABC, minute 4. We're in that minute wave 5. At best, or at worst, I should say, that what actually does come into mind is that we go back out to this way. Remember, if this is going to be intermediate, these just turn into minor. And that would just be a minor 3rd. And that all fits. And this would be minor 4. And we're in a minor 5. And that actually could gain a lot of weight as this all continues to play out against what's going to start pushing on this market as we now enter and get through the month of December. We likely are going to continue to have a end of year rally. If not, we've already seen maybe most of it. I think that we will see a rally tomorrow. It is a Friday expiration. Let me just double down and see what numbers do we have coming out on Friday. We have S&P Global Manufacturing. We have ISM Manufacturing, construction spending. We've got 1, 2 Fed guys talking, plus Chairman Powell will be talking tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. And so we have Powell and Cook talking to local leaders in Atlanta. And at some point, auto sales will be revealed throughout the day, throughout the morning tomorrow. So again, we do have a pretty good day. ISM manufacturing, construction spending, those are they will have a push or pull on the market. So, we got some stuff going on. Now, downside from here, it gets a little bit more difficult to really start to consider a downside based on how the market was left on the close. So I would think we're going to go up first and make a new high. And I tell you, as long as it fits in this structure, you get 5 and you make a new high, and it could put a 5 there, and it could all end. That's also a possibility, or maybe another failure. I don't know. We have to allow the market, if it were to turn and nosedive from here, it could be a 1, and then we're doing a diagonal down, and I wouldn't know of what. So, but you'd be drawing a very strong line to get this thing to be, putting in a diagonal, and into what level, and then what would we call it? Diagonal first wave down? I don't know. So again, a lot of possibilities, but right now, my strength is lying within the fact that it's likely 3, 4, and we're going to go up in a fifth. Here are our markers. First one, equality, 46.26. Second, 46.76. Third, 45.95. That's the third, but it has to be 5. And guess what? I got 1, 1, 2, 3, a little 4. So a 5 could take us right there, and then that's all she wrote. So right now, we're marking them up just a little bit, marking down the NASDAQ just a little bit. So let's go over and talk about the NASDAQ. First of all, moving averages, sorry about, and the S&P on the hourly. Let me go out to the daily because that's the one I truly kind of work on. 50 in the 200 flat, 20 rising, 8 cresting. But still kind of, in line to head higher. And while I pick up the NASDAQ, we'll look real quickly at those. Still kind of rising, 20s rising, 8 flipping a little bit here. If we get a little bit of upside going, it'll be okay. Now, let's talk about the NASDAQ. Same deal. Same deal. Even hit it cleaner. Same deal. Here we have this, but this still no overlap. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. We come back down, make a new low. But could it change the whole picture? It can. It can. It can. That 4 could go over there, the 5 could go there, and what if it's all over in the NASDAQ? So now we got another dichotomy to add, right? Because we would be believing and thinking the S&P did spend most of the day lower, being dragged lower by a NASDAQ that basically was down over 100 for most of the day, because we just saw them bailing in NVIDIA. We saw them getting out of Netflix. We saw them getting out of Microsoft and Meta, and Apple turning negative at some point. So pressure was on, coming again from the Magnificent Seven, and that did put the pressure on the S&P. But the S&P then also got the benefit of United Healthcare and a lot of the banking stocks really gaining some traction to the upside. So it had that benefit in there as well. Now, so because I normally, and I think most of us feel that the NASDAQ and the S&P, because of those 7 stocks, usually are running neck and neck in the same direction under the same type of account. Well, you just saw what I did in the S&P. And the NASDAQ doesn't necessarily have to follow. Yep, we had a nice rally up into the close. We sure did. But I needed to get up over 16,012, 13 before I get overlap. And once I get to overlap, then this is left as an ABC, and then possibly I'm going to move that 3 out, put it over here, because that also existed here as well. So, we got both of those working, and there's the possibility of the beautifully extended, but the 3 ends up over here, and the 4 it would be internal, and this would still end up being a 4, but we rally. We rally. Right now, it still really does appear that we will rally. Whether I put the 3 there, get rid of that, but just to show you, here's the, if this is an irregular, we saw yesterday how this also came in, right? I think it was 16,001 something, 190 something, up at the upper end of that 90. And then this came, actually it was a little bit higher. And this came in at 16,208. So the Fib 1.618 was 15,867.68. That low was 56. In terms of the NASDAQ and what it's capable to do, it ain't all that much. Looking at the hourly, it looked like a little bit slip below, and they took it right back, and then they ran. Now, that being the case, if I flip this over 3 and put the 4 there, it's an ABC down, and we go. And we go. Now, if that's the case, I'm going to take this off, And I likely will move that 3 over. I can clean it up. That'll make a nicely extended 3. I do want to, oops, not to do that. That's just to keep it clean here, folks. That's all. Although I can do, but still, in all these, if this is a 5, 3, and a 5, it's a 5, 3, 5, and ABC. So I still needed this to go another 5 down to produce the C wave. So I'm going to put that there and put this here. And then I'm going to fill in the blanks by adding, first thing I'm going to add, I'm going to go over here. This is going to come in a lot smaller. Put up my right tools. So we got this down correctly. Put it there, run that up to there. So you can see we're coming back. We're still going to run short on equality. So you're looking at the next one up, which is 1.618. That minute 5 would be 1.618 times the length of minute wave 1. And that is 16,400. What do we have in between there? Well, we have where minor wave 5 would be equal to minor wave 1 at 16,327. That's been a barrier or a beacon. It's been a flashing light sitting up there going like, hit me, hit me, hit me. I think they will. And they could do it tomorrow. Be a hell of a rally, but we've seen stranger things in the NASDAQ. Now, that's the first one. Now, what if it was all over? 3, 4, 5, done. What does that suggest? That one is still alive as well. Take the 4, put it over there, put this in a 5, put the 3 back over there, put the 5 there, and what do I get above it? I'm looking at minor wave 5, so I put minute 5, minor 5, intermediate C, primary B, we're heading lower. These sells were pretty good, I got to tell you. 1, 2, 3, high 4 does not overlap, which would suggest we start to go lower immediately on the Globex Open. We don't turn and go higher. We don't break above that level. So here's the ticket. If it goes up and breaks above 16,013.50, wave 4 cannot overlap wave 1. That's off. It's an ABC 4, and we're running. May take a while to catch on, but the rule is the rule, and it's not a diagonal going in the wrong direction, right? So it just is not forming that way because the diagonal, this would be 3, this would be 3, this would be 3, this would be 3. That would produce a diagonal, and they're not. We've already opened them up, and we looked at there's 5, and there's 5. So that would be out. So wave 4 cannot overlap wave 1. If it does, this is left as 3, and we're going to have a nice rally. If it doesn't, and we come down and we break back below 15,856, and we do it in 5 waves, then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, as I'm going to reference from yesterday, that would give us strong support on an hourly chart that this completed the move, the upside move. And then we're just building on going down. So that's what we got going on. In relation to what the first one is, that we're going to rally, right? 3, 4, we're going to go up in a 5, like I just said. Our first line in the sand, 16,192, but that's just 100%. And depending on the structure, it can complete it. Slight failure, again, small, but 92, the NASDAQ's got a little bit, they always do a little bit more. It could push, get itself above 16,200, still works. I know what some of you are thinking. We still got that 16,250 out there. If it never gets broken, can this all go back to the other count? Yes and no. That's how I'm going to leave it. Big yes and no. So we'll see. Now, having said that, back to this. So we have that. Then we've got the 16,327. That's a pretty high big candidate. Again, moving back out so you can see what it does. It is where wave 5, minor wave 5 would be equal to minor wave 1. Big equality, big fib, 16,327. So again, like I said, it's a beacon flashing, hit me, hit me, hit me. And then we do have an additional above that at 16,400 if we get in a massive push. Something like they love the numbers tomorrow and everything is just green light, green light. And off we go to the races. Now, downside, I just talked about. If it truly is done, then we are going to break 15,856. I can throw some support lines up there, but they're not really going to have a lot of meaning, right? These are just support running fibs on this rally. So you got 15,720, 15,418, 15,174. Those are just the fibs coming off. If they really start to break 50 to 618, you pretty much got a clue. But that clue is really going to come from right here at the very beginning. If we get 5 waves down, 5 down on an hourly chart and 5 down on a 4-hour chart, then we know that the highs are in. Then I can put in different fibs. Then I'm out here on our daily chart and I'm counting. I will go up and do this whole back from that high down to that one and up to that top of the B wave to get my construction for what is that C wave going to look like. And then we can start building it going down. Not in place yet because we don't know yet. So I'm going to leave all that open for right now. Let's see what tomorrow brings us. We've got the 2 scenarios, and this is in both S&P and in the NASDAQ. And I'm hoping that they stay together. I'm hoping that the NASDAQ doesn't just kind of fall apart. We're opening up. The NASDAQ is kind of continuing to flip lower, not all that severe, but it is heading lower. The NASDAQ, S&P as well, a little bit lower. Let's see how this all gets. And if you'll notice what they were doing, they were marking NVIDIA down, and they were marking Meta. They were marking something else as well. Well, but that all kind of got taken care of. All right. I'm going to leave it right there, folks. And, well, tomorrow's Friday, so I guess that's my day off from making updates. Everybody have a really great trading day. And I will, of course, be updating this situation over the weekend. So the latest would be on Sunday, December the 3rd. Wow, believe it or not, December the 3rd. And we'll take a look and see where everything is. Have a great weekend. Have a great trading day tomorrow.